We're going to be your hosts tonight and covering all your questions and talking a lot about home buying and the whole system and how that works. So just to get started, I'll introduce myself and turn the time over to Brett. But I'm Jeff Porter, as I said. I'm sales manager with Utah Community Credit Union. I think most of the people on here will be members of the credit union, but we've invited other folks to be on here as well. But been with credit union for 7 years, like I said. Been probably 25 years in the industry. It's a long time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Long time. But anyway, I've done every kind of lending you can possibly imagine. Seen a lot of changes over the years in mortgages and the way that we do things, and it's a very evolving industry, I think is the best way to say it. We get lots of changes, some for the good, some not for the good. But the great thing is I'm able to really help handhold a lot of people and take them through the process and really teach you a lot and help you get through it without having too much effort. So you can see on here on the screen, we do all kinds of lending, including portfolio loans here with UCCU that do a little bit unique situations for folks to help almost everybody get approved and get through the system. So anyway, I'm just really happy to be here and helping you guys and teaching you a little bit about the lending process and buying homes. Anyway, this is Brett Wild, and
Thank you.
I'll let him introduce himself.
All right, and it looks like your picture there, Jeff, was that from 7 years ago when you started?
Sure was.
Yeah, that looks good.
Let's not talk about the age, the wrinkles that have been added.
Oh, you're like fine wine. So, yeah, I'm Brett Wild, and we're excited that you're here tonight. I know you've got so many things that you could be doing, and our schedules are so busy, all of us trying to juggle between family and work and activities. And so we appreciate you being here. It will be worth it. Tonight, we're going to talk about a lot of details as far as anything that's home basic that are questions that you've probably had, that others have had. And so by the time we get done with this, we hope all your questions are answered. And so a little bit about me. My background is really sales, like it says here. And so I was a Weber State graduate in 2004, and
on my bio too. I'm Weber State.
See, now we didn't know that about each other.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of credibility right now already because of that. So, anyways, so finished there, and then I was basically an outside sales rep for several years for a Fortune 500 company here in the state. Anyways, been in the industry a long time. Well, after I left that experience, I've really just been building, remodeling. I did that for a few years, and then got into full-time real estate in 2013. Since then, this is a little bit outdated, but we're closer to 1,000 transactions now that we've done, or construction remodel projects. So we bring a lot of different experience, not just with transactions and how to buy and sell a home, but also in regards to questions you may have about remodeling or building or anything that has to do with owning a home or owning property. Jeff and I collectively can get all your questions answered, and it's just been a lot of fun being involved in knowing and learning all these important things that we all get to deal with being homeowners. So anyways, just love to be involved in our community. There's no better place to be than Utah right now. And if you've been paying attention, our market, Utah market, has been among the top 2 or 3 in the whole country, based off reports from Forbes magazine and different things like that. And we're growing quickly, and people are moving here, and they're bringing competition. And you've heard stories about how hard it is to buy a home, or and how that's affects you, and how do you position against other buyers. There's probably right now 15 buyers to every seller. So positioning and knowing and how to adjust and how to compete and how to win a home so that you can get your place on this train of appreciation as it's moving forward quickly. It's important to know, and so we're going to help steer you through that. So anyways, we'll kick off this and head to the next slide, but we're excited to spend some time with you.
So, UCCU, great institution. Like I said, I've been working there for 7 years. I'm now sales manager and running a team of lenders, and also still producing and helping clients. We do every available lending package you can think of out there. We do the conventional loans, FHA loans, VA, rural housing, or also known as USDA loans. We've also do our own in-house underwriting with Utah Housing and all of these programs. Um, we like we work really hard to make sure that we're always at the top of the market on the interest rates. So we go out and we price out on a regular basis all of our competition, make sure that we're right up there. Where we always be 100% the best. No, we can't. You can't always beat every single tiny person that's out there, but we're right at the top. So we take a lot of pride in that, and knowing that we're doing the best thing and giving our members the best rates. Um, on top of that, because we're a credit union, if you have to pay mortgage insurance, which that's anytime you're above 80% of the loan to value in a home, um, the credit union actually gets a better deal on mortgage insurance for our clients. And that can add up from 10, 15 all the way up to $100 or more a month off of your regular payment because of what we can offer there. So that's a big deal. And what's really nice is down here in Utah County, we're all up and down in Utah County. We've just opened some new branches in Harriman and Draper, and we're expanding north into Salt Lake and onward. So hopefully we're going to be anywhere that you need us to be, and you can literally walk in, talk to a mortgage officer at any point if you want to. And of course, we've got all the online services as well, so you can apply online. Everything is, we've got secure uploads for sending us documents, and everything you can think of when it comes to the full package of doing a mortgage loan with an institution. We've got that available. And then, we've got great connections here, like Brett Wild and his team. Brett's not just an individual with his real estate, but he's got a full team that he works with of agents and assistants. And well, we'll get into more of this later, but you do a plethora of not just providing as a real estate agent, but you do a lot more. So we're excited to have that relationship with Brett, and we've been doing that now for several years. More than 3 years now?
Yeah, at
Something
least.
like that.
Great.
It's been a while. So anyway, we've got a lot of great options here with UCCU. I've got my sales hat on right now. I'm telling you all the great things, but once you get an opportunity to sit down and start working through your mortgage, getting pre-approved, and then going on, once you get approved and we're taking you through the system, you'll get to see how amazing it really is. So
Yes, and just to confirm, I'm also a UCCU member, as many of you are, most of you, and I've had several mortgages. I've owned 28 homes now, and currently hold 7, and 5 of those mortgages are with UCCU. And I love the fact that I can go into the branch, make a payment if I choose, but when I log into my UCCU.com account, I can look on the mortgage section and I get to see a platform of all my balances and where I'm at on those, and I can adjust my payment schedule. But it's nice to not have to chase around to all these different companies, and I can have a one go-to place. And
yeah,
so,
that online banking service is pretty amazing. You can do so much with it. It allows you to pull your year-end 1098 documents for taxes. It allows you to see, monthly statements. You can pull them right off of there. Like you said, you can set up online banking. You can even apply additional to principal if you want to, and you can do that on a recurring basis or just once. So you've got all these different options, and it's right there with your online banking. Where your checking, savings, everything else is. You just click it, you're on it, and you can make all these adjustments. So pretty great.
that's right. So UCC is a great place to get your mortgage, and Yeah. So Jeff's been awesome. Appreciate, yeah, all the
Yeah,
time
you
that
bet.
we've been doing a lot of things together. It's been productive.
So we can move on to the next one there. Um, so the biggest question, is all right. So what do I need to do? How do I get started with uh, finding a home? Well, the very first step is to get yourself pre-qualified or pre-approved. And to do that, you get a full application either online or you call in and we talk to you and we go through that information. And we're going to pull your credit history. We're going to look at that. We're going to compare and look at your how much income you make to what the payments can be and what works for you. And we're going to talk through all these things. If we're just going off the information you put in and pulled your credit, that's called a pre-qualification. The next step is called a pre-approval. And in this day and age, with there being so very few listings out there, and a competitive market is really what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
Super competitive markets. You want to be pre-approved, and in order to get pre-approved, you got to have pay stubs, your W-2s. We need to see your driver's license, your and your bank accounts. And again, on our whole online setup system, you'll have a very simple way of uploading all of these documents to us. Of course, you can drop them off, or you can. We're easy. We've got all different kinds of ways you get to us. But when you have that pre-approval letter, that's where we're able to take that next step and give you that better letter. And in this day and age, that's just critical because as you're going and presenting this to a seller or a realtor, um, they're literally going to not. They're going to take if you're just a pre-qualified letter, they're kind of just going to set you aside. They want to only see pre-approval letters from those borrowers to make sure that you are as qualified as you can, and they know that there's not going to be an issue moving forward when they accept your offer.
That's right. Now, keep in mind, you're dealing with sellers that are getting very educated and prudent on what the market's doing. And most of these sellers that you're going to work with as a buyer, they've got a home to buy also. And so they're depending on their sale to go through. And if you're the buyer that's going to buy their house, they are going to be very, very good on doing research to make sure that you're as good financially as you stayed on your offer. And because if that deal falls through, then they're going to lose all the work and effort on the home they're trying to buy. And they probably need those proceeds from their house to move forward on their plan. So getting pre-approved and going through the extra steps is so important that you've got everything you put on the application with Jeff. He's already gone through and verified that it matches that application. We want to present that way as a uniqueness to set you apart, to be stronger than those other offers you're going to compete against. And so there's a lot of people out there that haven't been as experienced, or they're working with newer agents, or maybe not even one at all, and they're shopping with just a pre-qualification letter, which is really you can get with a 5-minute conversation on the phone with any lender. And a savvy seller with good representation, they're going to that's going to be one of the pieces that they consider when they decide to choose an offer of who do they feel most confident that's going to close. So that pre-approval is huge.
Now, one of the things that we're doing as an extra step to make you even look better is in that pre-approval process, we're going to run the automated underwriting system with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac called DU or LP. And we'll actually provide the first page of that report showing that at the very top it says approve eligible. And that's a really important piece. In some cases, just depending on the situation and where we're going, we may go as far as to actually run your pre-approval through underwriting, through our underwriters. A big reason for doing that is if you're self-employed. So if you're self-employed, a lot of times we're going to want to run that right through at the beginning, show that an underwriter has actually put their hands on that and that it's fully pre-approved. And then that way, when Brett takes your offer to the seller, they're going to know that he's got this huge advantage now. He can say, this one has already been through underwriting. Bam, this is a great one to go. And that's going to make a huge difference in making your offer.
That's right. We'll answer a few questions that are pertinent to the topic we're on now. Somebody asked, if you want to pay cash for total, do you need a pre-approval letter? No, you don't need a pre-approval letter. However, you will need some sort of statement to verify that you have those funds. So a verification of funds, and if a simple snapshot of your bank account that shows that amount is just fine. That's more powerful. That's going to be another step to set you apart from the competition. And so that's all you need there. But certainly you can buy a home with cash. And we'll talk about a little bit down the line here on how you transact a home and using a title company in the proper way so that your cash is protected. And so that's the answers that. What else we got here?
Yeah, let's go on to the next slide there.
Okay.
Concerns. Yeah, and there are some questions that have been asked, and we'll get to those here as they pertain to the slide. Okay. So just bear with this. So how does my credit affect my score? What key strategies are effective for boosting my credit? What scores get the best rates? So we do pull your credit. One thing that's important for you to know is that within the first 30 days, underneath the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you're able to have your credit pulled multiple times. You're allowed to shop and find out what the best deal is going to be for you. And so just know that when that happens, it's only going to affect you one time. So that'll allow you to be out there and go shopping. Now, where it could get pretty negative for you is if you were out shopping a bunch of different places. Let's say you went to 5 different places, and then you decide, you know what, I'm just not going to buy a house anymore. Now you're going to get dinged 5 times. What the Fair Credit Reporting Act is trying to say is it's okay for you to go out and shop, and the credit reports are only going to ding you one time, one pull, if you go out and you buy something. But if you don't buy something, they're going to come back and they're going to say, well, it looks like you were just, out trying to just test the markets and whatnot, and they're going to ding you a bunch of times. So you got to be kind of careful with that. You want to be serious about moving forward if you're going to do a lot of shopping. So just keep that in mind. One pull is typically 7 points off your credit score. Really not a big deal if you've got credit score in the 800s, that's not going to make a big deal to you because anything above a 740 or above is just top tier credit. And then they have different channels basically down from there. So you've got, 739 to 720, 700 to 719, 680 to 699. And just depending on where you fall might affect your rates, just depending on the program or whatever it is that you're doing. So every situation is different for every single borrower. So we could talk about credit all night long, but it really is just individualized. And I don't want to get too much into the weeds on this because there are probably individual questions for individual people. So as we get to the end, take my information. If you've got questions, I'd be happy to answer all of those questions on an individual basis and really get into the weeds on that for you individually. But just as a simple there, best scores 740 above. And key strategies, let's hit that real quick on key strategies to help in your credit. We'll talk about just a couple of really key things. Yeah. One thing is revolving credit is 30 to 40% of your total credit score. So it's really important to make sure that, number one, that you have revolving credit. So what's revolving credit? Credit card, a store card like RC Willey, someone like that, Lowe's, Home Depot. Gas card, right. And it's super important that you use the credit, but in the right way. So you don't want to ever be above 50% of the limit of that card. So if you get $1,000 limit, you never want to have the balance go above $500. And realistically, they want you to be more like $300, 30%, and maximum is going to keep you under 10%. Now, it's hard for people to be at 10%. We're not expecting that, but definitely keep it under 50. If you can keep it under 30%, that's great. I think you got a story.
Yeah. That, don't you? Well, so yeah, I mean, we all started from different places, but all of us at one point or another had to start building our credit. And it's important to have credit, and it's important to also have a variety of credit, because if you just go in and you bought one thing in your life on credit, and you never missed a payment and you paid it better than agreed, you're going to have a credit score and it's going to be a good one. However, it's not going to be enough credit in certain situations to be able to qualify for the best rates, right?
Right.
And so there's lots of details and principles we're going to talk about tonight, and there's a lot of reason to stay on the till the end. In fact, we have an incentive at the end of the call here that we'll let you know about. But keep in mind, if some of this information we don't hit on as thoroughly as possible, there's a couple books that we're going to give out. I'll put this in front of the camera here.
Oh,
Is that what's going on there? Anyways, you can't see it. It's blurry, but
why is that?
that's weird. But anyways, there's a book that we have called Buy Confidently, and that's going to talk a lot about just stories from some of our clients and some of mine personally that talks about ways to fix your credit, ways to build your credit, how to be competitive on with an offer. There's all these different questions that you probably have, and so if you hang on here at the end, we'll show you how you can get a copy of that, and then another book that we'll talk about here in a bit too. But just know, a lot of people have that question: is I don't want to ruin my credit. I don't want to have people keep pulling it. But that piece on setting yourself apart and being competitive, you have to have a pre-approval letter, which comes from pulling your credit first. And so,
Very good point.
but it's good to shop around. It really is. But you
Yeah.
got to have it pulled, and don't delay, because that might cost you a home.
Right. Yeah. And you do. You have to have your credit pulled. Some people are like, I don't want to pull my credit until I'm right ready. No, unfortunately, you do. You got to have the credit pulled. You got to know where you're going to be. And it's important to do that because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that, hey, this one item on my credit was reported negatively, or, oh my gosh, I didn't realize my balance was too high on that credit card that I have. Whatever it is, these are things that we can look at in the very beginning when you're getting pre-approved and say, hey, we can help your scores go up by doing this, 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 and this. Someone asked the question, they use the middle of the three scores? Yes. So what that means for people to understand is we pull a tri-merge. We pull the Experian, the Equifax, and the TransUnion credit reports. And each of those are going to score you just slightly differently. And so we take the middle of those three scores. So if that helps.
Perfect.
And then we're going to jump to this in a minute, but Pete, someone asked, do you do jumbo loans? Yes, we do. We have jumbo loans that we do. We actually do those with different investors and even in-house products. So we've got some good products that way.
Perfect. We'll hit the next
Okay.
slide here. We got our back end, James Moody, here driving the ship here. So
Thanks,
thanks,
James.
James.
How much can I qualify and afford? So as we're doing this pre-approval process, one of the things we're going to gather up is your income documents and figure out how much income you make. Then we're going to pull your credit, and we're going to see all the debts that you have. And then we're going to calculate approximately, based on what you're having conversations with Brett about and us about how much, you want to buy and what that payment's going to look like. And we're going to do the calculations on all these different things. And we're going to figure out what maximum you can qualify up to, both with on the lending platform. And usually this is a much higher number than you're comfortable with. And then your budget and what you guys feel comfortable with. Again, every individual situation is a little bit different. And so what feels comfortable for one person might be different than another. Just as a round number, though, on the lending side, we can go all the way up to 45% of your gross income. That's before taxes, before anything. So just as a quick number, if you made $10,000 a month, that's $4,500 that we could go up to. And that includes any car payments, the new mortgage payment, credit cards, any, the debts that show up on your credit report. So that's how we do those calculations. Hopefully that helps a little bit. But again, we would need to get into the nitty gritty with everybody. But the most important thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to make you house poor. We don't want to make it to a point where you're like, well, I love my house, but all I can do is just sit in it and I can't afford to go anywhere, do anything ever. So that's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is make you feel comfortable with where the payment's going to end up in your budget with the different loan programs that we've got available. And then from there, Brett's going to go out and he's going to find you good homes to go see. They're going to fit into that window in that categories. So
That's right. So anyways, and that piece is very important to know how much you can spend. Nobody wants to be house poor. It's not a fun way to live. I've been there and I'll never go back. So we'll look at that together and help just build the best, offer within your means. We'll talk about how to, again, a lot of what I'm going to be focusing on is how to compete and be competitive to other offers. But in today's market, it's a little different than usual, and a lot of times you're going to have to, it's a situation you might have to buy a little bit less house than what you can you're approved for, because most people are having to overpay to win a bid, and that's the reality. But we'll talk a little bit about the market and what it's
we've
doing.
got some good strategies for that. So
we have some really good strategies, and that's part of what's in that book there. But you're going to be competing against some other buyers, and you've heard that story. But a lot of people get paralyzed when they think about overpaying or paying over a list price on a home, and I get it. And it's such a it's who wants to do that? The market this year since January has gone up over 7%, and it's supposed to go up near 25% this year alone. There's a lot of people coming in from out of state. A lot of the shift from the commercial employees that they've been going to the office for work. There's an article I just was involved with and read. Was two of the top economic leaders in the country. They basically are saying that 20 to 30% of the commercial space is going to move into the residential. And so that means a lot of people are going to start working from home, and it's going to continue to surge our Utah market here, where a lot of people are going to be buying up these homes. People want to move to Utah for a lot of different reasons. And so being in a situation where you can utilize that extra cushion that you have and to be more competitive with your bid is going to help set you apart, so that we can get you in a home and start letting you enjoy the appreciation instead of your landlord or someone else.
Right. Exactly. Hey, a couple of questions. How long is the credit approval good for? It's good for 4 months. So that's how long the credit report is good for. However, if you got to the end of that 4 months, we wouldn't necessarily re-pull your credit depending on the situation. I don't want to keep pulling your credit every, 3 or 4 months or something. We'll look at that. But to simple answer, 4 months. Do FHA loans go to 56.99% debt to income ratio? Yes, they do. However, UCCU will not go that high. We don't feel comfortable with putting our members in a position to where that debt to income ratio would be that high. There are some exceptions to some different things where maybe one person's applying, but they don't have their spouse applying for whatever reason, and that spouse has income, and we've got some different circumstances that might come up to help us go with a higher number. But typically 45% is kind of the maximum we would feel comfortable with, because we don't want to put you in a situation where you're house poor. So and what's the lowest end income that someone can have and still be able to buy a home on a metropolitan areas? Again, that's going to depend on your individual situation and how much debt you have, other than the new mortgage that you're going to get. So every situation is going to be different for every individual. I wouldn't be able to just tell you a minimum income that you have. So we'll have to talk about that on a more individual basis for you. So we can go to the next one here, James. So we've got some different types of mortgages that are available. We've got fixed rate versus adjustable rate. Right now, the fixed rate mortgages are actually pricing out better than adjustable rate mortgages. So there wouldn't be really any reason to do that. But the adjustable rate mortgages, what those used to be is you would get what's called an ARM, adjustable rate mortgage. For the, that's the acronym for it, ARM. And what happens is you're fixed during a certain period of time for that. So let's say if it was a 3-year ARM, so you'd be fixed during the 3 years, and at the end of that time, it would become variable based on some different conditions. So anyway, just I'm just telling you about it, but it's really not something you're going to get involved with. Fixed rate mortgages, you can do those on a 30-year, 20-year, 15-year, 10-year. But the shorter the term you go, the bigger the payment becomes. So you have to feel comfortable on those. Conventional loans, you can do as little as 3% down. Now, on just a straight conventional loan. Now, a lot of people wouldn't know that. A lot of people are like, oh, I thought I had to have 20% down. So know that that's not the case. So what is the whole 20% down deal about? Well, the 20% down is once you're at 20%, then you don't have what's called monthly mortgage insurance that's attached to the payment. That mortgage insurance is protecting the lender. It doesn't do anything for you. So a lot of people try to get extra money down, but the majority of people I do loans for all are at like 5% down, 3% down, that type of thing. And so don't think that that's something you have to do, because it's just not something that's normally really done. So 3% down is really nice. So what does that mean? That means, like, if you were buying a $300,000 loan, you'd need $9,000 down to do a conventional loan. However, you can go to the next slide there, James.
Yeah.
That we do other mortgages that allow us to go up to 100% financing. So standard FHA loans are 3.5% down, and they're great for a lot of different reasons. But if you could pay 3% down as opposed to 3.5%, you'd probably want to do the 3% down option, which was that conventional loan. But there are some reasons why we would use FHA, and it just, again, will depend on the individual. But Utah Housing, the second one down here, that goes up over 100% financing. It actually can go all the way up to 102.5%. So why would you need that extra 2.5%? Well, that's because you got two things you have to come to close with on a purchase. Your down payment. So in the Utah Housing case, there is no down payment. You're 100% financing. The other thing is you have closing costs.
Mm-hmm.
So closing costs can run up for anywhere from 0 to 2.5%. And so having this Utah Housing program that goes up to 102.5 is going to cover all of your closing costs. So this is literally a program for first-time home buyers that you can walk into and get into a home with very little to, in some cases, no money out of pocket. That is a great product, and we've done a lot of those for folks. So just know that that is a great product. And on top of this particular Utah Housing program, we actually have two other programs that are grants. One that goes up to $7,500 and another one that goes all the way up to $25,000. That's huge. Awesome. And helps you pay for your closing costs and your down payment on those as well.
Geez, how helpful would that be?
Yeah, just crazy good.
It's always nice to have a little boost when you're starting out.
Yeah.
So to reiterate on some of this stuff on the, well, is it important? Is it necessary? And is that the best strategy to wait till I can get 20% down so that I can buy a home? Because it is nice. I don't want to pay mortgage insurance if I can avoid it. And that's a very common question that we get. Think of it this way. The average median house price now, it's close to $400,000. It's changed quickly. 3 years ago, it was closer to 350 or 300, and it's going to keep climbing. But if the market were to go up 20% in 1 year's time, what's 20% of 400,000? 80,000.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
80 grand.
So you may be like a lot of us where you're just scurrying as best as you can and budgeting and trying to come up with a way to just collect 20% and 20% of 80, you're trying to come up with an $80,000 down payment so you can avoid that principal mortgage insurance or PMI. It might take you enough time that by the time you came up and generated that 20%, the market, if it's going up 20%, if it's going up $80,000, a year also just by appreciation, that may not be the best thing to do as far as your because you're basically losing buying power with your dollar. Does that make sense? So in today's market, how fast things are changing, it's better to just get into the market at even if it's a 3% conventional loan, which is awesome because most lenders are 3.5% before they can get to conventional. UCCU does a 3% conventional loan. It's better to get in with a lower rate just to be able to have your seat on the bus and have that and you be enjoying that appreciation. And the other thing that's so important is the interest rates are just they're more important than anything else. And I know the prices are intimidating as they're going up so quickly, and affordability is always a sometimes it feels like it's getting out of reach, but the rates are still historically low. The lowest they dropped to was about 2 months ago, and they were almost scraping the 3% flat, right, for a 30-year loan.
Hmm.
And so they got low, and now they're starting to creep out up a little bit higher. I mean, right now we're what, just almost at where are they at, Jeff,
Well,
today?
you know what? They actually got down to purchases got down as low as like 2.5%
For 30?
for a 30-year
That's
fixed rate,
insane.
and now they've crept up to about 3.125.
Okay. So
So
I have my numbers a little bit down. They're getting so close down to a two. But for an easy example, okay, for the simple math, if you took a $300,000 house and you went from a 4% to a 5%, over the life of that loan, you're paying $66,000 more for that house just from that rate change. Okay. And so we didn't go from a 4 to a 5, like I mentioned. We went from a,
two and a half
we
to
went clear down to
three.
2.5. And right now, if we're still at that 3, your buying power is so much better because of the interest rate as opposed to the purchase
Yeah,
price. So
the interest rate makes a huge difference on what you pay over the life of the loan, and you'll save a ton of money right now being able to get into a house at these low rates because they're historically low. I mean, we've had a good year and a half now of just amazing rates, and it's a great time to get in there. Have a payment that's super affordable because those rates have stayed low, and then pay the least amount over time.
that's right. So if you're buying a $400,000 house and that rate jumps a point, you might be paying $300 to $400 more per month because of the rate change. Okay, so that's the one that we want to pay close attention to, and that's the big reason why you want to get in the market as soon as you can. There's different payment calculators and that you can look online, and you can just play with the different scenarios of interest rates. But take a look at that and run some scenarios for yourself. And as you talk to Jeff and look at your affordability, your budgets, you'll see quickly that rate is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to answer a couple of questions
Okay.
here real quick. Um, if you have two times $2,000 a monthly mortgage payments with a 50-50 partner, and I earn 10,000 per month, does UCCU hold me accountable for the full 4,000 in mortgages, or only 50% since my partner is also responsible for the other 50%? It depends. So if you're on the mortgage for those both those $2,000 mortgages, and they show up on your credit report, then yes, we're going to have to count those against you. If your partner and you are on the loan together, then you should have, double the income, assuming the partner works, and it should work out. If the partner's not going to be on there, but both mortgages are showing up under your name, then you're going to have to count those payments against you, and that's going to make it difficult to qualify. Um, I asked this looking forward towards adding a third. Oh yeah, okay. So I
Yeah.
answered your
What
question.
about this one?
Yeah, and then the
How do you get rid
PMI.
of PMI?
Yeah, PMI. So there's two different types of mortgage insurance, or primary mortgage insurance, which is PMI. Same thing, but underneath FHA loans, mortgage insurance lasts for the life of the loan. So there's no way for that to come off unless you refinance into a conventional loan. Conventional loans, that mortgage insurance can come off at 80% loan to value. There are some other stipulations, and maybe it's 78 or 75, but primarily it's 80% loan to value. So that's a nice little deal. So if you get into a conventional loan, you're paying the mortgage insurance, at first, and then you're paying down your mortgage, it gets down to 80%, you can call into the lender and say, hey, I want to cancel my mortgage insurance. And then that'll remove that and make your payment even better. So that's really nice. Another option is as people have got to a point where they've decided to refinance to get their mortgage insurance off because they want to do it super quick, and that's an option as well.
That's right. And you can reach out to your real estate agent also and get a comparative market analysis, and that will tell you your current market value for your home. And with today's appreciation and how quick it's going, you might be surprised how fast you get to where you have already 20% equity. So, that's the long-term relationship with your lender and your real estate agent is important so that we can keep you in the driver's seat and be able to eliminate some of these fees and just have a long-term strategy on how you're going to get best to your goals, right?
Yeah. Somebody asked, can you cover what a funding fee is? With conventional loans don't have that. FHA loans and VA loans have an upfront fee that's rolled into the loan. It's included in the closing cost, but you don't have to pay it out of pocket. On FHA loans, it's a straight 1.75% that they add to the balance of the loan. Doesn't affect your debt or your loan to value, and it doesn't affect what you have to bring to closing, but it is something that they add, and it is something that is part of those closing costs, or not closing costs, part of the fees that are added to the loan. Just again, you don't have to pay it out of pocket. They've done it in a nice way like that, but it is a fee that is included, and it's a way for them to help reduce the interest rate on the loans because they'll give you a pretty good interest rate on those products. However, you're paying for it because it's a fee added. So when does that fee get charged? Well, when you refinance or sell the home, they're going to collect on that. We're just going on trying to finish off the different loans here real quick. You got VA loans and USDA loans. VA loans are veteran loans. So if you are a veteran of the military or currently in the military and have benefits, then you can potentially qualify for this. This is a fantastic loan. It's 100% financing without any monthly mortgage insurance. And the rates are the best out there. They're great.
Can't beat it.
Yep. USDA loans, that's only for rural housing. So in Utah County, that's only in two areas. It's parts of Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the south part of the valley, it's south of the Spanish Fork River. So if you looked in those particular areas, you could qualify for USDA. However, USDA does have some income limitations, so not everybody can qualify, and they have loan or debt to income limitations that are pretty stringent. Where you might qualify for a regular conventional loan, you may not qualify for a USDA loan. So again, everybody's situation is different. Depending on where you're looking, we would look into those different programs and figure out whether it's going to work for you.
Yeah, and in Saratoga too, it's west of the South Jordan River.
Correct. So, yes, thank you.
Yep. So anything that's parts of Saratoga, then going all the way down in Eagle Mountain and in Cedar Fort and all those areas, you can get a USDA loan. They're great.
All right, let's go on to the next slide there, James.
All right. So why do I need to know about hiring, or what do I need to know about hiring an agent? Why do I need an agent? What do they do? How are they paid? The easiest way to tie this in is when I bought my first home. So finally I was out of college and I got my first job, and I was really eager to get into the real estate space. I read a lot of the books that many of you have read, the basics about real estate investing and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and these type of popular books that I was excited to finally be able to purchase a home. And as we just mentioned, having a W-2 income and finally having verified income is such a key piece of getting a loan. Well, that finally happened. So I was ready to go shopping. And I was a rep at the time and for that corporate job. And I was going just down 1200 north or 1200 west here down by UVU. And there was a for sale by owner sign on the side of the road and on a really cute little corner house down by Trafalgar, if you remember that place. And anyway, so I stopped and walked up to the door and figured, well, you know what, let's do this. I'm ready to go. And I didn't really know what I didn't know, but I knocked on the door and a lady came out and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm really excited about your house. What can you tell me about it?" And she let me in and we looked at everything about the house. We did a walkthrough and I wasn't really that picky at what I was trying to buy because I had this idea of how I could be close to the school and maybe rent to some single friends, and it could meet my goals. So, anyways, I told her I was interested, and we shook on a price. I think it was $160,000 that we agreed on. And anyway, so she says, "Well, how are you going to pay for it?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to call. I think I got a lender buddy that can help me." So anyway, so I call.
It wasn't me. I didn't know him then.
I wish that you would have been there because it turned out to be a disaster. And I learned a lot from it though, which is the most important. But so anyway, but I did get qualified and I was able to do a zero down program because I didn't have a dime. I just spent it all, finishing up school. But I was grateful to get in the market. So anyway, so I call her back and I let her know that I wanted to buy her house. And she said, "Well, hey, I kind of feel bad about this, but I just had somebody else come by since you left, and they wrote me a little note and
No.
signed it and said that they want to buy the house. So, and they said they'd buy it for 5,000 more than what you would buy it for. So I was bummed, and she said, "Well, I do want to honor what I told you, and so if you hurry and come on down, and we can meet, then we can sign a purchase agreement and everything, and you'll just have to pay." More than or match what they said they'd pay, right? So I was bummed out and I didn't know any better. So I'm like, okay, well, just hold it for me. I'll be right down. So anyway, we sat at our kitchen table and she pulled out a bunch of forms that I'd never seen before, but she started going down through and filling in the blanks and I'm just initialing where she told me to initial and so that we could get a deal done. When we talked and then walked through the home originally, I was told that the appliances were going to be part of the deal. The fridge, there was a washer and dryer in the basement, and basically everything that was there, she was going to leave at the house. And so anyway, we made a deal. I sent the paperwork to my lender. I was all excited, and then about 30 days later, it was time to close, and I was really excited to finally own my first home. And I remember it was just a little bit rainy during that a couple of days leading up, and even the day of closing. And so got the docs signed, called the seller, and told her that I was done with my end of it, and I was excited to pick up the keys. Well, she didn't answer the phone, but she sent me a text back just saying, "Thanks, keys are under the doormat." So anyway, so I rushed over there. I opened the door and I walk upstairs. I'm looking around, and just excited about what the next chapter was going to look like. But I noticed the fridge was missing, and then I noticed the microwave was missing, and then the dishwasher, and there was all these components of the house that was supposed to be included because that's what she said. And I scurried back through later that day and noticed, I looked back and it showed on there that all the fixtures, including the appliances and everything that was fixed to the home, was included in the sale. Well, I didn't know that, and I didn't know how to get a hold of her. But essentially, when you buy a home, if you were to turn the house upside down and shake it, whatever is attached to the home, including your dishwasher, your range, stove, and if your microwave's attached to the cabinet itself, not sitting on the countertop, but if it's attached to the cabinet, those are all like included in the sale unless excluded specifically. And so anyway, so I'm finding all these reasons to have less excitement about closing on my first home. And then I walked down the hall during my first walkthrough, and I noticed that there was a drip coming down through where the swamp cooler was. And
at this point, you own the home.
yeah, I mean, I own the home, right? So,
oh man,
yeah. And so, I'm like trying to call this lady and like, "Hey, listen, there's a drip. Where's the fridge? Where's the appliances?" And then I found a couple other problems with the house. Is just I was there finally taking some time to learn the house, and it was an expensive mistake, and she didn't ever respond. She never, the only thing she was, I think she knew what she was doing, but she left me that note where the key was, and I was basically there to figure it all out from there. But now I realized that um, there was things I could have done, right? So I'm telling a story to some of my family members, and I'm like, listen to what happened to me. All these problems, and I remember my aunt says, "Well, Brett, didn't you get an inspection on the home?" And I'm like, well, no, what's that? And so,
Mm.
so I learned that I could
Oh
have
man.
and should have done a real estate a home inspection, and even realized that there was a part of the purchase contract called due diligence that basically gives me an entitled period of time where I can go bring in a professional and test drive the home and be able to check out all the plumbing and the electrical and the roof and have somebody go through it all so that I wasn't stuck holding the bag. Because once you close on a home, undoing that close, it's not an easy process, and it involves a lot of legal. It's a legal journey that's expensive and unlikely that you get to reverse that transaction.
So you truly learn through the school of hard knocks.
That's usually how it goes for me. So,
Congrats.
yeah, it wasn't fun. But had I just known some of those things, it would have been so much different. So, anyways, so why did I even think to go and buy that home directly with her? Part of it was, I mean, I was an educated person. I just got my degree, and I thought, well, why would I want to pay an agent to help me do these things? Because they're really, a lot of them are pretty common sense items, right? Um, so what I didn't understand is when you go buy a home, the seller has already budgeted to pay for the fee of a buyer's agent or a real estate agent, right? So if a home is listed on the MLS, most every home is. There are those certain conditions like that for sale by owner I talked about. Most of the time, they're going to already have that amount budgeted. So the only thing that I was doing in that situation, what I was helping that seller make more money to not have to pay an outside agent. Okay. And so now understanding better how this all works, we help people buy for sale by owners all the time, buy from those type of sellers. And as long as we're the ones that engages that seller and negotiates that deal, I can't remember the last time when a seller didn't pay that because they usually expect to. They bought the home, so they usually understand how the
Right.
process works.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can't even imagine not using an agent to help me purchase a home. It solves all these headaches.
Right.
You've got a professional helping you through making sure the contract is done right. You've got your final walkthrough, so people aren't, you know, taking the dishwasher with them. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. And I've been doing this now for 12 years, and I still come across stories every week that just blow my mind of so many scenarios when you're buying and dealing with home purchases or building or whatever it may be. There is just a numberless type of things that could happen. So there's lots of reasons, and like I said, there's a bunch of stories in that book that I shared with you a minute ago, and there's a lot of stories of other people that you can learn from. So, and apart from that, there's a better and different version. 83% of people's retirement comes from their home equity in one form or another, and so having someone to be on your side and being a coach for you, it's not just about the next home that you're going to purchase. Finding someone that can be a long-term, just that guide from here on out, as long as you can maintain a trusted relationship. There's going to be decisions when you go to do repairs on your home. You're going to have a furnace go out or a roof or different maintenance items. And most of the time when a furnace goes out or a maintenance piece, you're going to get online and you're going to call the first top three repairmen to your house.
And they're gonna sell you on the biggest thing, aren't they?
Of course, because they're trying to make a living. So they're going to come over, and if you need a new furnace, they're going to give you the options of the most expensive outfit that they can possibly sell you, and tell you that's going to be the most energy efficient. And there's all these different reasons you should buy that. But did you guys know that when you resell your home, if you have the most inexpensive furnace versus the most expensive furnace, you're not going to see any difference in resale for your home. Also, there's lots of different examples of where you spend your money on the remodel side, right? So when you go finish your basement, it's going to cost you $35 to $40 a square foot. You get $15 back for resale. And as you sell and buy real estate, and you do this right, you're gonna really excel and get ahead financially to get closer to retirement and do it in a lot more efficient way if you're knowing what money and how to spend on your home. But it all relates back to what your plan and strategy, your goals and timelines are with that specific home. And so it's important to have a financial planning type of a
Well, I've always thought of, it's important to think, we try to put money aside in a 401k. We try to put save money for the future for ourselves and our family, right? But the buying a home is it's probably the biggest investment you'll ever purchase. It's the biggest dollar amount of anything you'll go into debt for. And it's a major investment, and you have to treat it as such in the fact that you got to be taking care of it. You have to understand how that's gaining the equity for you over time, because at some point you're either going to have it paid off or you're going to sell it and upgrade to another home. Whatever that situation is, that equity that you're building, and then the principal that you pay down, all of that is going to go towards um, your future, whatever that future is.
sure.
And it's a huge investment. And when you start to really look at the numbers, man, there's nothing else that even touches it.
That's right. I mean, if you think about how if the market really does go up 20% this year and on a $400,000 house, how long would it take you to put 80,000 away in your savings account from just squirreling away your differences in your income? So it can be big, and
That's a lot of money.
that's a huge bit. That's a big reason why a lot of what Jeff and I will do to focus with the long term with you is we want to. Well, there's another book that we'll give you too. I wonder if I can get this thing to zoom, but this is called.
It's got that
So weird
thing where
it's blurring us out.
Yeah.
But this is called How Money Works, and this is a cool guide that basically talks about compound interest and the Rule of 72 and the types of insurances that you can get. But the more you can learn about the financial piece of home ownership and how all this ties together, it's going to really make a difference to propel you to just a more successful outcome in future, right? So, lastly, on here, differences between the teams and agents. So, the average full-time real estate agent across the country will sell 12 homes a year, and that's pretty much their bandwidth by the time you consider all their prospecting and all their transaction management and all their their lead generation and working with buyers and sellers, and there's a lot going on. And today's market is so urgent when these homes come up. If you don't have tools set up to be able to alert you right when your specific type of home comes up, and then to be able to like pretty much on like live time go out and see that home as soon as possible, these homes are going off the market in less than a day in some cases. And so being able to have like real time response and getting out there soon and being competitive and knowing how to compete is huge, right, Jeff? So last time we helped you buy a condo.
Yeah. So I bought a condo, and your team, you weren't available, but one of your team members said, "Yeah, I can go out and show you this place." And we went out, and we looked at it, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, this place is awesome." And she's like, "Well, let's write up the offer." And so we wrote up the offer right then. We got the offer accepted. But it was because of your team. I mean, you've got a great team that you're able to put together, that was able to make that happen. And as an individual, doesn't matter who you are, things come up in life, and you can't necessarily be all places at once. So to have people that can back you up when you're not available is a huge benefit to your customers.
That's right.
So I really appreciated it. I think that it's a big difference between teams and agents. Being involved with a team, keep that in mind, how important that'll be for you going forward as you're starting this process. So anyway,
Yeah, and as we get to the end here, we have an incentive for you that if you, as you use, Jeff and I, UCCU and our team, that we're going to give you a little give back. But anyways, interview, get another opinion, talk to two or three different real estate professionals. There's a ton of them, and the more that you can get from experience that knows how to navigate through these different scenarios, the better. But there's also every team and every agent offers a whole different set of values, value adds, like some of them have moving services like we do. The construction HDTV side is cool. That's something that we do just because of that remodel side of our business. We can go through and look at homes.
Brett, that's a huge ad.
It's my favorite thing that we do. So literally, as the inventory is low and you're just not seeing what speaks to you and what's important, you can go through that this exercise where we basically help you see the vision of what it could be, and then give you real-time estimates right on site of what does it cost to remove that wall or to make that space meet your situation's needs, right? And as we do that, and then help you plan on the return on investment of any of those adjustments and how to put you in the position now where you can make money on those, on customizing that home to you. You're not only going to have more options now in this limited market, but you're just going to have a better experience. Plus, the last thing before we talk about this next slide, how are you going to position yourself now when you're up against these 15 buyers to every one seller? Well, there's actually 7 things now that we do that are key strategies on how to win against competing offers. And we'll talk about that more in person. Everybody that's on here has a different situation, a different goal set as far as what they're looking for, and so it's going to be important that we talk with you individually and build out a strategy specific to your situation. Okay.
But I've seen your 7 strategies work time and time and time again. So it's a great game plan that you put in place for your borrowers, and that's worked out nice.
Yeah, and we're always coming up with others because our market is being disrupted quickly. Every industry seems to be right now, but the real estate industry is changing. And that brings us to the next slide is when you search for a home, there's a lot of sites to use. You've seen them. You've been on Zillow. Zillow is probably it has the best user interface as any site out there. They've got the biggest budget, okay? Last time you got into Zillow, you logged in, when did it ask for your credit card information? Did you pay them any money? The answer is no, because Zillow gives their service free to you as a buyer. They make money from the real estate agents, and they make a lot of it.
They charge a lot of money.
Yeah, agents like us, and this is going to tie in here. The agents are paying thousands of dollars per zip code to advertise in different areas because they're hoping that when you go to click on their site and you find a home that you're interested in, you'll notice you click on a site and there's agents that come up on the right-hand side of the screen or down below, and they want you to call and talk to that agent because now that agent's generating a lead from you clicking, and so they want to be able to they want to maximize on the return on investment on their advertising dollars. Well, here's what's interesting about it is most agents out there, if they want to get the best return on their investment, they're not taking their listings down once they sell or go under contract.
I was hoping you'd get to this because it drives me crazy.
It drives me crazy too because most people want to look on Zillow the whole time, but what happens? You fall in love with this house. It's everything you wanted, and you call on that house itself. Generally, you're speaking to a seller's agent or an agent that you thought was the seller's agent that doesn't know. But the other thing is 9 out of 10 times you're going to hear that person you're talking to, hey, we're so sorry, but that one's already under contract. How many times has this happened to you? And they're going to basically build pain so that you now use them and they'll tie you to a direct source. And so that, so you basically eliminate the brain damage of that whole process. So Zillow, that's how that works. That's how there's a lot of sites like Trulia and different ones there. There's also all the brokerage sites, okay? And those sites like Remax and Century 21 and every team usually has their own site. They market all the different listings from all the different teams or brokerages
Right.
across the state. So
Yeah.
it's important though to know that you need to be tied into the MLS, rather if it's right through utahrealestate.com directly, or if you, for example, our site's called wildteam.com, and if you use wildteam.com, it's got a seamless time, a real time integration with the MLS, that any home that we send you is going to be live right when it hits your
Well,
email.
and that's how I got that investment condo, was because you were tied directly into the MLS. I saw it pop up immediately, and I was able to get out there and see that property. But if I was strictly using Zillow, I don't know when that property would have come up. Probably would have saw it after it was already under contract.
Yeah. And then you would have called them and then found out what was going on with it. But every single time you call another site, you start getting bombarded by all these different phone numbers, because every one of you guys are going to be put in their CRMs, their follow-up database, and you're going to hear from a
Yeah,
lot of them, and you
all
get
the
scared to
common
even
call.
answer your phone.
Right.
So, anyways, there's a difference between some sites. There's also okay, the open house or the for sale by owner. We talked about the for sale by owner, but every time you go directly into an open house, we recommend you do that, by the way. But when you do it, you need to go in and let people know right up front that you're working with someone, who it is you're working with, because that agent that represents that homeowner they're going to be excited as can be, because they're basically set up to not just make the seller side of the commission, but also the buyer side. And so if they can double up and make, twice the amount of money to help you through the system,
I
and
don't I don't like that.
well, it's not just so much how much money they make, but do you think they have you in mind,
Well,
or do
that's
you
why I
think
don't
they have
like
the
it.
seller in mind?
Yeah, that's what I don't like it. If I was a buyer, I would want someone who's just representing me. I wouldn't want him, jumping the fence and doing both sides. I just feel like it would be more important to have somebody with just my interests at heart.
That's right. And if there is an agent at these homes, which most of the time there are, they've already signed an agreement with the seller that's a commission package that is an offering for a buyer's agent and also their side.
Right.
And 98% of every buyer in the last 2 years, this is data that comes from the division here locally, has brought a buyer's agent. And so most of the time, these sellers and their agents, they're planning on you bringing somebody and paying for that, and they just love the fact when you don't, because even if you present an offer for 3% less of the price, because you're trying to fight it against all these agents and go in and buy these homes, they're still going to present the offer the way that you asked to present it, but they still already have their set listing agreement that gives them that, let's say 6%. It's different, but in different scenarios, but they're going to basically set
Yeah.
themselves up to make that site. So just understanding how it works is important. There's other flat rate brokerages like Homey and different companies like that you've certainly seen on billboards. And there's a place for those type of situations. You just know that there's different service lines that you get with a different scenario. And as far as the buyer side, some of these things that I mentioned before, as far as the experience I had, this is a big ticket item and it gets expensive, and you just want to know what you're getting, the terms that you're negotiating, how to win an offer. And a lot of these other these different scenarios, you just want to make sure that there's a plan in place, vet what that plan looks like, understand other people that's used that same platform to know and have confidence that you're going to be able to win, right? So anyways, there's a little bit about open houses for sell by owners and those different sites there if you want to move on.
Do you want to just take a break real quick and answer a couple of questions right here? I think
Sure.
this one's a good one for you.
Okay. In this current Utah market, if I find a home I like listed for 500 and offer 25 over the seller's asking price, and where the appraisal comes back, am I on the hook to pay the extra 25 on top of the 100,000 down payment, or does UCCU help add that to the loan? Okay. Talk about the lending side, then I'll talk about
So
the offer side.
on the lending side, we have to take the lower of the purchase price or appraised value. So if they're the same, it would be at the 500,000. So at that point, we then start and say, well, actually, the purchase price wouldn't be the same on this. It'd be purchase price would be 525,000, but your appraised value would be at 500,000. So we do have to start at the 500,000. That's the way the guidelines are written up for all purchases and all different loan types. So you would not be able to finance in that 25,000. In that case, you'd either have to come up with the additional amount, or you would have to go at a higher loan to value and then do it that way. So there are some different options. However, a lot of the time, you've got some different strategies that make it so you're not paying necessarily all of that. You might agree to a certain amount over the appraised value, or anyway.
Yeah, and that's our end, is we're negotiating deals every day, and we're seeing, we're seeing what the market's doing and how it's adjusting all the time. And the reality is sellers understand where the market's at, and it's a seller's market as far as what they're able to demand to get for their home. Your advantage now is those rates are so low that it's going to help make up for that. But most of the time, we are offering over the list price. In fact, it's kind of the running joke right now is offering list price is basically the new low ball offer. And that's crappy to hear, but if you go in at list price, you're pretty much not going to get it. And I don't know the last time that I offered on a home in the last 2 months that I haven't competed against other offers. So yes, it's generally, it's normal that you go in and ask more than the house is being listed at. And there's some strategies on how we can position your earnest money. We can put some clauses in there that says you're only going to pay X amount over the appraisal once that appraisal comes in. So in this case scenario, if you offered 525 and the appraisal came back at 500, if we say we're only going to pay $3,000 over the appraisal amount, then that would put you back to where you're paying 503. Okay, but the savvy, experienced sellers and their agents are going to do everything they can to keep as many of these terms negotiated up front into the deal. So when, the appraisal comes in low, or when, other factors happen, they're going to do everything they can to choose which buyer is willing to do to take the most risk. And so we'll help you get there, but we're going to have to really be transparent and on the same page on what your tolerance level is and what your ability to place an offer is, and we'll still protect you as best as possible. But just know it's not the funnest market to be in, but there's even more risk in not getting in and just getting into something with the way things are appreciating. And I don't see that slowing down until the inventory levels, until those even out. Right now, we're less than a month in inventory. That means that it'll take less than a month. It's like 3 weeks for all the active homes. If no other active homes were to come up on the market, it would take 3 weeks before all those were sold out. In a healthy real estate market, you're just under a year's time. Okay, so it takes a year for all homes to sell, and so that tells you how competitive it is. Until the market gets back to that normal area, and the rates go back to a normal. Yeah. There's so much fuel that it's unlikely that it's just gonna do what it did in 2008 and just drop. And so we can talk more offline about that. But going back here,
I just want to answer one other question. We just moved to another state. Do you have any advice on how to find a good realtor and lender? On the lender side, good news. UCCU does financing out of state. We can do financing in all 50 states. So I can certainly help you with that side of it. On the realtor side, that's a little bit different.
Yeah, so we're connected with a lot of different real estate networks, and so we got some tools on our side to be able to vet who is going to give you the very best knowledge and experience in whatever area you're moving into. So yeah, reach out to us, and then we'll make sure you're set there. For the sake of time, get with us about the 5 key strategies, and we have more than that now. Earnest money. What is earnest money? So earnest money is basically an amount of consideration that when you place an offer, you place in there an amount that you're going to deposit into a brokerage account, okay, or a trust account that basically holds place there so that both parties comply with what they agreed to. So
yeah, and this is all written up in the contract.
It's all in there. And so part of what I did when I offered on a home to that for sale by owner, I wrote the check directly to the seller.
No.
And so if I didn't comply with my end of the deal, or she didn't, who gets the money?
Well,
right?
the seller's not going to give it back, probably.
There's
So
no
yeah,
way.
you don't ever give money to the seller. That money goes into a third party, like the trust account by the brokerage or a title company's their their uh their accounts. Anyway.
And that earnest money does get applied towards your down payment, so it's going to be used for your
Oh
purchase.
yeah, that money just doesn't disappear and is like this, fun money that goes to somebody else. That's your money that's getting applied to either the down payment or the closing costs, whatever the situation is.
And so, as part of our offer, we're going to dictate an amount of earnest money. The more earnest money you put down, the better your offer looks. And so, generally, in a normal market, you place your earnest money on an offer, and you're going to have a period of time in your deadlines that we'll talk about in a bit here. That is, there's a protection period where you can pull out of the deal if you don't like your inspection results, or if you don't like what the seller is willing to do or not willing to do. If you're not happy with the outcome, you can get your earnest money back and walk away. And so there's different pieces there, but that's what the earnest money is there for, is basically to be the referee, that everybody's happy with the way that the transaction is evolving before you close. Okay. Inclusions, those are what you're asking for in the contract. Like, for example, fridge, or some different parts of the home that you want included, like maybe
Right.
the water softener, or maybe
I
maybe
mean,
you
it's a
wanted.
play set in the backyard or something.
Yeah, and you can ask for those on a purchase contract, as long as we have it written on there and the buyer and the seller agree. You can literally ask for almost anything there, as long as it's written and agreed to, right? So there's a place in that offer for that. The deadlines, there's a first deadline when you go under contract. It's called seller disclosures. That's when, within a few days, usually the seller is going to give you, the buyer, a packet through us. They're going to provide us, and we'll give to you a packet of about 7 pages of questions that asked, is there ever been any insurance claims, or has there ever been any, illegal activity, or dumping of chemicals, or there's a whole bunch of different items that's recommended
It's
you look
really an
into.
important document. It covers a lot of really good information.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you'll use that as part of your due diligence. If you're going to buy something in an HOA, you need to understand the bylaws and the financials of that community to make sure that they're healthy, and they're not going to get you in a situation where you're sucked into some lawsuit and you can't sell your property. I've got a lot of stories about that. And so, that due diligence period is a time where you're going to be able to review everything the seller's provided, and also doing an inspection, and just make sure you're comfortable. And if there's things you're concerned about, you can negotiate there. Okay. And so, and even if you're concerned about the school districts or anything, it's up to the sole discretion of a buyer to cancel, as long as your offer is conditioned upon due diligence. And then beyond that, there's financing and appraisal, and then your settlement deadline. Okay. So that's where we have benchmarks, where Jeff's going to order your appraisal,
Yeah.
make sure it comes back at value, or it comes back, so that we know where we're at and how we can continue to negotiate on your behalf. But it's not just the offer that's accepted. There's a whole bunch of steps that goes between acceptance and closing, and the target's always moving, and our job as your representatives is to basically just use every resource and tool to give you the very best chance of winning and being in the best situation. Okay, so we just talked about seller disclosures, due diligence, the home inspection. There's a whole bunch of different inspection companies. We don't expect you to have to go figure it all out. Once we go under contract and negotiate a deal, we're going to continue to spoon feed you through our team on which inspection companies are the best, which ones the
Yeah.
pros and cons. So don't be stressed about so much. You got to try to figure it out to make sure you're all protected. We're going to continue, just little by little along the way, guide you through the whole process, so you know exactly what to do.
A lot of hand holding, to hold and make sure that you're comfortable understanding what's going on through each step of the process. On the lending side, I handle that side. On the real estate and some of these things we're talking about right now, your agent's going to be handling those. But definitely know, as we're taking you through these processes, that you don't have to be an expert in every area that's happening. That's what we're here for. We're the experts. We're the ones that are helping you through. Um, but this is an overview to help you understand, really some of the kind of high level overview of what's going on, and the details are what you hire people to help you through with. So
That's right. And the better you get at understanding the process, it's going to continue to make you better and better and better at other homes that you buy. Most people buy and sell a home nowadays every 3 to 5 years. And so over the life of your home ownership journey, the more experience that you can learn, the better investor you're going to be. And you can be, like I said, you could be very powerful if you start to understand how this whole process works and implement a lot of what you're going to learn. So beyond that, inside your contract, that you can get a home warranty, and that basically is something that can be negotiated. That if
I
you,
love home
they're
warranty.
awesome.
I love home warranties.
So you say that you move into a home. In fact, you just had one. You have a condo that you had some water issues, didn't you?
Um,
You used your home warranty.
yeah, we it was covered under the home warranty. We actually had to replace a water heater. Uh, that's kind of important. People don't like taking cold showers. So,
Right.
but yeah, just you don't know when something like this is going to go out, and just really nice, to not have to pay for that. And most of the time, that ends up getting negotiated into the contract with the seller, one way or another. But yeah, that home warranty, especially in the first year when you're just getting in there, you don't know what's going to go wrong. That's usually when the stuff goes wrong, right?
It's yeah.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, this has got a leak, or this has gone wrong here, and you're able to just to call in an expert as part of that home warranty and get it fixed for you. If you're a really handy person, which I'm not, then maybe this isn't something you necessarily need. But I love it just because my time is actually, I don't have a lot of it, so to spend it on fixing some plumbing or electrical item, geez, I'd much rather have somebody who can do it in 5 minutes instead of me that's going to take 4 or 5 times back and forth from the Lowe's or the Home Depot
Yeah.
to figure out what I'm doing and getting it fixed.
So that home warranty is it's usually a $500 or $600 upfront package that the seller generally will buy. You can
Yeah.
negotiate that, but you run out of money quick when you're trying to buy a home with between your closing costs and your down payment. So the whole idea is there's a inexpensive small deductible that you can have something replaced or repaired. So anyways, we talked about the financing and appraisal deadline. The last thing pre walkthrough and settlement. Um, so too often, it's another piece. What would have been different with my outcome had I bought that home when I bought that home? If I could have just went through it right before I closed, because once you close, you're done. And so I didn't even know that I was entitled to walk through and make sure that the appliances were there and the fridge was there and there wasn't leaking, water coming out of the roof. So that pre-settlement walkthrough is an important piece to make sure you go through the house one last time. That's generally when the sellers have already moved out. You get to make sure that the house is in the same condition or all the things that were agreed to be repaired were completed. And so then settlement, you're at the title company. You get to sign a whole big stack of papers at the title company that you're committing to buying that home and paying back the mortgage that you're gonna now get to enjoy. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that's settlement as far as the terminology goes. And so after that, pretty basic, you'll get your keys. Now, generally speaking, it takes 24 hours or so by the time everybody signs. The seller's got to sign, the buyer's got to sign. Now, when you go to settlement in Utah, you're doing that generally in different meetings, so you're not going to go face to face with the seller and have to
No.
have some awkward situation because
Yeah.
you just ask for all these things they're not happy about. The idea is that you get to comfortably go through the process and on your own.
Well, plus it's none of the seller's business what your mortgage is or what that information is. So
Very true.
yeah, they keep that separate.
So once the home records, which is about a day after, then you're going to get your keys. Then you got to make sure you change your utilities and go to the post office.
And you have a nice little write up on this, helping them through that part of it.
Yeah, we're going to spoon feed you along the whole thing. So, show you exactly where to go pick up the moving trucks and every piece of the way you should just have confidence on what's going to happen next. So, a few other quick things, benefit wise about home ownership. Just remember, your home is going to be your best performing asset financially. It's always has for me.
Yeah.
But it can also be a very expensive you know, piece to maintain. I mean, it's an expensive item, but just as it's important for you to maintain your health and go to the gym and you know get your annual checkups. You got to do this for your home too, and you got to have a maintenance plan, and we can help you through that. So, anyways, having that perspective and thinking long term on what things to fix or when things happen and what to do and who to talk to, use us as a resource there. There's major tax benefits just by owning a home. Most people on average are going to see a difference of 2 to 3%. Sorry, $2,000 to $3,000 come back in their from their tax returns because they own that home. You get to write off the interest you pay on your mortgage, and that's cool. So, and of course, now since you own the asset and it's appreciating, is that now going to you to enjoy, or is it going to your landlord? There is no landlord, so now that's your investment. How to get the best return on investment on homes repairs. We talked about that. There's a huge science and equation on that, but it's so case by case scenarios. But as you have these items come up, we'll walk you through it. We talked about that 83% of people's retirement come from their own home equity, so this is important. So really, just knowing how to treat your home as and think about it as a financial tool, not just a place to live, is huge. So let's hit the next one real quick.
Jeez, this goes together.
I'm hearing buyers putting down 25,000 hard earnest money when writing an offer. Yeah, so when you say hard earnest money, to us that means that as soon as they accept your offer, that money is non-refundable. That's happening. It's not as often. I mean, that's a very dramatic example.
If you had hard earnest money, it would be a much smaller amount. But
Yeah, but well, you know what?
but anyway,
This week I made an offer for two doctors that were married, and they did an all cash offer, and $20,000 of earnest money upon acceptance was non-refundable, and they went up against 20 other offers and they won. But the fact is whoever can give the seller the very most amount of confidence that that buyer is going to stay in the deal and they're going to perform, the sellers are going to go with that offer. And there's a lot of money in the valley right now.
well, just cash offer is pretty strong offer.
Yeah. But you're going to compete against people that have mom and dad helping them buy a house. They're gonna, there's very creative ways how people are coming up with money. We can help you there too on some
You
strategies.
guys got some great strategies.
Yeah.
So
So just know that yeah. So some people are putting money all the way up front, hard and unrefundable. But we'll talk about what you're comfortable with, and it's going to be a scenario of how many offers that the home that you fall in love with has, and we'll have to evaluate each one of them.
So it goes on to say, or does the UCCU pre-approval letter noting the underwriter's page guarantee we can secure financing within the original closing window? That's our goal always when we're getting you pre-approved, is to eliminate as many of the variables that are out there so that we know that you're pretty secure in getting approved. Does that mean that we can foresee every single tiny little thing? No, but that's why we have a financing and appraisal deadline within the contract, so that we have the time to uncover any of these other potential issues and be able to resolve them and get your loan closed. So, typically we're closing in 21 to 30 days from the time that your offer is accepted. That kind of goes into the last question. Someone asked, what's the average length of time between getting pre-approved and getting to move into your new home? Well, getting pre-approved is different than getting under contract. You might get pre-approved and you might not find a home for 2 months. But then when you do find a home and you get under contract with that seller, from that point forward, we're about 3 to 4 weeks, 21 to 30 days.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, it depends on your timing, and sometimes there's lease, your current lease you got to work around, or however that looks. But sometimes we work with a buyer that it literally takes us like 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, to go under contract with a home we like, and then generally it's going to take 30 days or so for UCCU to finish the loan. So yeah, as soon as you want to start looking, just plan on probably 6 weeks or so.
I think this is important for me to say. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
I just want to say, UCCU is making a commitment to purchase the purchase market and the purchase loans that we're working on. So if someone's doing a refinance and you're doing a purchase, your purchase takes priority over that loan, because It's important to hit these deadlines. It's important to make sure that your loan closes because you have more at stake. You're putting up this earnest money and these different things, and this is there's a lot more that goes into purchasing than there is refinancing because you already own the home when you're refinancing. So purchasers are a very important part of it, and um, everybody in our department, no matter who it is, from processors to underwriters to the loan officers to the back end funding and closing departments, everybody has the purchases as a priority in making sure that these are getting done for you. So don't think that you get lost in the shuffle. If anything, you're brought to the top of the shuffle when it comes to these type of transactions.
Yeah, and it's all time sensitive on these purchase agreements, and so even in being competitive, the faster we can do them, sometimes, UCCU gets them wrapped up in 3 weeks, and there's some possibilities there. But we'll do everything we can to get you competitive and understand what the sellers are requiring or they want, and so we can match those terms as much as possible and get you, accepted. So how long, if I'm going to be wanting to move out in the end of July? Well, you probably ought to start, learning properties now and getting aggressive probably the middle of May. And so, um, uh, really, everybody that's on the call right now and buying a home, even if it's a year out, the best thing that you can do right now is to start learning the rhythm of the market and what's going on and how many homes are coming up on the market. And send Jeff and I an email, and let us start a conversation with you guys. But if you'll send me an email, and I'll write what my email is here in the box, or James can, then send me the criteria of the type of home you're looking for, because there's those tools that we're talking about. And if I can start dripping homes into your email as they come up, you're going to quickly see and understand what it is that you want, and learn how often it's coming up and how the prices are adjusting. And you're going to be much more confident when the right one comes up. You're going to see it and know it. So yeah, so go ahead and do that, and that doesn't cost you anything. You just, it's just a free tool that we have access to. The investment side, really quick, there's 4 quadrants where you can make a lot of money on your down payment. So I always think about your return on investment is based off your cash on cash investment, and that's based off your cash flow, which is how much above your mortgage you're getting from rent, your mortgage pay down. So your renter is paying down usually a third or so of your mortgage every single month. A third of your mortgage payment goes to the principal, meaning
Right.
Your home is going to appreciate, and you're getting inflation. And then there's 2 quadrants in the tax advantages as far as
there's major tax advantages. You get to write off a lot with an investment property.
It makes so much sense. On average, on the the homes that I own, based off my down payment, I'm getting more than 40% annual return on based off the accumulation of all these 4 quadrants every single year on my
40%. How can you? There is no investment out there that you can make 40%.
It's kind of sweet.
I mean, other than mortgages,
right? Well, so
investments.
And I know our time's cutting short here, but we'll walk you through all this stuff. The more you can learn, the better you're going to be. But
we got to tell them about the incentive.
So just so you know, thank you for being on the call. I know your time is valuable. So anyone that reaches out and stays in contact with anyone on our team or UCCU's team, that's what we're offering is $1,000 off your closing costs.
That's a good deal.
If you want to use it as another type of credit, then that's what we're doing. So we're pitching in 500, and UCCU is pitching in 500, and then plus you'll enjoy some free moving assistance, and a lot of these different uniquenesses that we've talked about. So anyways, we really, really appreciate you spending time with us.
Yeah, thanks for being with us tonight, and I hope you guys learned a little bit. And you've got our emails in the chat there. Please feel free to reach out to us, ask any questions that you have, and Brett and I will try and get back to you as quickly as we possibly can, get those questions answered, and help you move forward with the goal of home ownership and everything that can bring for you.
Perfect. Is our emails in here?
Yeah, he sent it. It's underneath the chat button.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks for telling everybody. We'll get those recordings out to those that have requested that. Obviously, if you haven't yet, please throw that in the chat real quick before you leave. But again, thank you very much for attending, and we'll get those to you sometime tomorrow morning. And thank you.
Great.
Have a good night.